Okay guys, so it's Tuesday, November 14th, about 7:30, just kind of finished up for the day with the paying jobs, and now I am digging into my own project. It's one of the joys of being self-employed. So I've got the Deluxe in here. Actually pulled it in last night, didn't quite have time to tear into it, so I came down early this morning, about 7 o'clock, yanked the engine out, and just found some bad news. Actually, earlier today I found it. But what I've had going on is this oil plug right here. On a trip back from California in June, we drove down. A friend of mine, Don Eastman and Rebecca Eastman, they drove their single cab down. I drove the Deluxe, and then we had another friend that trailered his bus down. But on the way back, I actually lost this plug. It popped out on me. I was only 45 minutes from home, and it was about 10 o'clock at night. So I actually yanked it out. Had a friend of ours, David Heath, who lived not far from there, towed me off of the road, or off the interstate, down in front of his place. And I pulled this thing out on the road out in front of his house in the middle of the night. We probably finished up around 1 a.m. I ended up finding the little plug that goes in here, put some Right Stuff 1-minute gasket maker on it, popped it back in, and it's just kind of had a constant leak ever since then. And this is June, we're in November now. I just haven't had time to pull it out. I've just been keeping a really close eye on the oil level and just running it. I mean, this thing's my daily driver, so I've just been, like I say, keeping an eye on the oil level and driving it. It's been running really good, actually. Just got a new carb on it last week, and the thing's just running awesome. But here's the problem. On closer inspection, if we go down here to this plug, I don't know if you can see, but right on the top here, right there, see there's kind of a crack. And if you follow that crack up through the webbing here, see, there it is right there, and it comes right across here and up here and right through there and right up to there. So this case has got a crack in it. This crack right here is more than likely what's been causing most of my oil leakage, and that's what's causing that plug to just pop out. So basically, I got two options at this point. I could keep this together, and supposedly guys can weld it back up with the engine all still together, or we tear it down and we start with a different case and just rebuild it. And I'm just not really liking the Band-Aid option of welding it. I'm sure it could probably work out great, but I want to slam the motor in this thing, and I don't want to touch it again for a while. I just want to drive it. And so basically, I'm going to throw a backup motor in this thing for right now. This engine is an 1835. I've got a Freeway Flyer trans in it, and so it's actually a blast to drive. It cruises at 65, 70 without any issues at all. It'll do a lot more than that, but that's nice, easy cruising speed. The backup engine I have right now is unfortunately smaller. It's just a stock 1600 dual port. In fact, I'll walk over here. You guys might remember this video from a couple weeks ago, but I just pulled this heap of scrap metal in here, and the plan is I'm going to yank this 1600 dual port out. I'm going to have to pull the shroud off, change the generator over to the alternator. And one of my problems that I always have is I look at this thing and I start thinking, okay, I better put some intake boots on it, and maybe I ought to tear it down and torque the heads, and I just start thinking about all these things that I probably ought to do. But it's going to be a backup motor. This is going to be just a temporary fix, just so I can drive my bus back and forth to work Probably not going to leave town with it. It's just going to be local cruiser. And so I'm not going to touch any of this. I am going to yank the carb off and put a different carburetor on it because this one's a little crusty looking. I might, obviously I'm going to do fuel lines. I probably will do cap, the cap and plug wires. Maybe check the plugs real quick on this while I got it out. But I'm not going to tear into it too far. The exhaust, I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to put a few little pieces and parts on the exhaust. But again, this is just a temporary engine just to get me by while I tear down that 1835, get a new case for it, and put that back together. Hoping within like 3 weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, I'll have everything back and have the new engine ready to go in. And so this is, like I say, I hate I hate just pushing that Deluxe out and letting it sit with no engine in it. And for the last couple years, I've always had a backup engine to just slam in there in case I have a problem with the engine. So tonight, like I say, it's almost 8 o'clock Tuesday night, but my plan is to drive that thing home tonight. So I better get after it.
Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
Okay, so here's our parts engine we just pulled out of the scrapped out bus. We're going to change out the generator. We're going to change out the carburetor. We're going to do wires. We're going to run that distributor for now. Actually, I don't know. No, I'm going to yank my distributor. I'm going to pull the whole distributor out of the other, out of this engine. It's got all new parts in it. So we're gonna pull the distributor as well. Carburetor. I'm going to run this fuel pump for now. I'm going to change the fuel lines. I'm going to change out the exhaust baffle. We're going to leave the exhaust. Heat exchangers on bay windows are different than splits. Splits and Beetles have the arm that comes down here, pulls forward. Bay windows have this goofy deal. And we're going to leave these. We're not going to change heat exchangers because that just opens a can of worms. We're just going to wire these open since it's pretty chilly right now. And the pedestal, in addition, when we're changing this generator out to the alternator, we've got to pull the pedestal down here. We're going to have to remove the fan shroud. So we've got a fair amount of stuff to remove and to change out. Right now would be a really good time to do these intake boots because these bad boys get hard and crusty. But this is temporary. I have to tell myself this is just temporary. So we're not going to dig too deep into it. We're just going to change out the necessary stuff. I mean, carb, distributor, alternator, swap the generator for the alternator, exhaust baffle, slam it in. Probably put a different clutch on it. Slam it in, and it should be ready to go. So it's about 8:45 right now. Actually, it's 8. Yeah, a little, not quite. About 8:40. And as I mentioned before, the plan is to drive the Deluxe home tonight. We'll see what happens.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
Okay, so it's about 10:30. Got both engines stripped completely down, as far as we're taking them anyways. I've got to pull the plugs out of this one because I actually don't have a new set of plugs sitting here right now, but it's got brand new Bosch in it. So we're gonna throw those in the used engine, in our temp engine, and we've got basically we're all torn down, ready to start going back together. Distributor, carburetor, pedestal for the alternator. I got to get a plug for this hole here. You know, ideally, I'd swap out the intake and, you know, change intake gaskets, boost. But I'm not. I'm done. I'm going as far as I'm going to go. If I'm driving this thing home tonight, we got to draw the line here. So that's where we're at. Let's do it. Let's swap some parts over and slam this thing in and get the heck out of here.
Let's begin now.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
What up?
Okay, it's go time. I got the exhaust all on. Had to get a little creative here with some just hardware I had laying around, but it's all tightened up nice, and everything's ready to go. I got it on the run stand, but man, I'm tired. I'm about ready to get the heck out of here, so I'm just gonna stuff it in the bus, and I mean it should be. It looks like I'm missing a screw there. Throw that in real quick, but anyways, I'm ready to shove it in there and see if this thing's gonna fire up so we can drive it home tonight. Let's get after it.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
Alright guys, 10 minutes to 2. I think we're ready to go here. Gonna go hit the key. Probably gonna need to pump some fuel for a minute. But I didn't static time it or anything. The distributor, I pulled it with the clamp and everything. So the timing should be right on the money. Let's see what happens. Probably need some keys, that would help. Well, there you have it. Looks like I got a ride home tonight. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later.